Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are heading into the heart of North Rhine-Westphalia to a city that honestly just feels like it shouldn't work.
Right, it really shouldn't.
Yeah, it's a place that is simultaneously deeply conservative and radically youthful. I mean, it's a city defined by a 300-year-old peace treaty, but also by a set of iron cages that once held tortured bodies.
There's a massive contradiction. We're talking about Munster.
Exactly. And it's great to have you here to unpack this because the contradictions are just everywhere. You walk through the streets and you see this incredible Gothic architecture. You really feel the weight of the Catholic bishopric, the Hanseatic history.
And then you are nearly run over by a swarm of 20-year-olds on bicycles.
Yes. That is the Munster paradox right there. Is it an old city or a young city? Because I was looking at the demographics and it's actually staggering.
It's a huge student population.
Right, something like 50,000 students in a city of only 300,000 people.
Which gives it this incredibly exuberant, almost chaotic energy.
But physically, it looks like a movie set for a medieval period piece.
And that friction is exactly what makes it so fascinating. I mean, if it were just an old cathedral city, it would just be a museum.
Yeah, a bit static.
Right. And if it were just a university town, it might lack that deep historical gravitas. But Munster is both. So our mission today for you listening is to really understand how those layers interact.
How do you go from the signing of the Peace of Westphalia in 1648 to being the bicycle capital of Germany today?
It's quite a journey.
It is. So we're going to connect those dots. We're going to look at the living room of the city, that dark history hanging from a church tower, the unique green belt that kind of defines the whole lifestyle there, and even an unexpected connection to Pablo Picasso.
A lot of ground to cover.
Yeah. So let's jump right in, and let's start where I think everyone starts when they visit Munster, which is the Principal Markt.
Oh, absolutely. The Principal Markt is the visual signature of the city. It's this long, beautifully curved square lined with 48 gabled houses.
They're stunning.
They really are.
Yeah.
And the key feature is the arcade.
Yeah.
You know, that continuous covered walkway along the bottom.
I've seen photos where the light hits those sandstone facades and it looks incredibly ancient. But I dug a little deeper into the architectural history and, well, there's a catch here.
There is a catch.
What we're looking at isn't actually entirely original, is it?
No, it's not. And that is a really crucial point to understand about German cities in general, but Munster specifically. The city center was largely decimated during World War II.
Right, totally flattened.
Yeah, and when the dust settled, the city planners had a massive choice to make. They could have done what Frankfurt or Rotterdam did, which was basically bulldoze the rubble and build modern, efficient concrete blocks.
Start fresh. But they didn't do that.
No, they didn't. They chose to rebuild the gabled houses. They chose identity over efficiency.
Which is fascinating.
It is. But they didn't just create a fake Disneyland version of the Middle Ages either. If you look closely at those gables, some are exact historical reconstructions, sure, but others are simplified, modern interpretations of the old forms.
So it's a living tradition. They rebuilt the idea of the Principal Markt because that space functions as the city's Gutstube, right?
Yes, the good parlor.
I love that expression. It implies it's not just some generic public square, it's a domestic space. It's where you bring your guests, where you show off your best silver, so to speak.
Exactly. It's where state guests are received, but it's also just where locals go to shop or simply be seen.
And dominating this parlor is the historic town hall.
Right.
And inside that building is a room that, honestly, without exaggeration, changed the trajectory of human history. The Friedenssaal.
The Hall of Peace.
Now, I think a lot of us remember hearing Peace of Westphalia in high school history class, probably nodding and then immediately forgetting it.
Oh, for sure. It's just a date on a test for most people.
Exactly. But we really need to stop and unpack why this room matters. It wasn't just a basic ceasefire, was it?
Not at all. To really grasp the Hall of Peace, you have to understand the absolute horror that came before it.
The 30 Years' War.
Right, from 1618 to 1648. It was essentially an apocalypse for Germany. Some regions lost 50 to 60% of their population.
This is just unimaginable.
It is. Starvation, disease, marauding armies that just pillaged year after year. It was total societal collapse.
So when they met in Munster in 1648, the stakes were literally the survival of these societies.
Precisely. And what they achieved in that room was a fundamental shift in how the world actually works.
Because before 1648, wars generally just ended when one side was completely annihilated or surrendered unconditionally, right?
Exactly. The Peace of Westphalia established the concept of tolerance through dialogue. They actually sat down, Catholics and Protestants, huge empires and tiny principalities, and they negotiated a balance of power.
This is really where the modern concept of state sovereignty comes from. The idea that a country has a right to exist and govern itself without outside interference.
Yes, it is the birth of the modern international order. And that spirit is still very much a part of Munster's DNA today. In fact, in the courtyard right behind the town hall, there's a piece of art that captures this perfectly.
The bronze benches.
Yes, by the Basque sculptor Eduardo Chillida.
I saw pictures of those. They look almost like two massive hands interlocking, or maybe two brackets facing each other.
That's a great way to describe it. They symbolize tolerance. The core idea is that you sit, you talk, and you tolerate. It's a physical, everyday manifestation of that 1648 breakthrough.
And here's where the Munster paradox hits us again. If you walk just a few hundred meters down the street from this beautiful monument to tolerance, you run into the St. Lamberti Church.
Ah, yes.
And if you look up at the tower of this church, you see something that is the absolute opposite of tolerance.
The cage.
The cages. I have to say, looking at the images of St. Lamberti, it's chilling. It's this gorgeous late Gothic church, intricate masonry, and then hanging from the spire are 3 rusty iron cages. And they are human-sized.
They are very much human-sized, and they have been hanging there since the mid-16th century.
Which takes us back to the Anabaptist Rebellion of 1534. This is a wild story.
It is incredibly dark.
The Anabaptists weren't just a fringe church group, they were a radical movement. They actually took over the city, expelled the bishop, and essentially set up a theocratic communism.
Yeah, they abolished private property, they introduced polygamy, it was a full-blown violent revolution.
They actually believed Munster was the New Jerusalem and that the apocalypse was completely imminent.
Right, but the Holy Roman Empire and the exiled bishop obviously struck back.
Yeah.
They besieged the city for over a year.
And the conditions inside were horrific. People were starving, eating leather, eating rats.
Just absolute desperation. And when the city finally fell, the retribution was brutal.
The leaders of the Anabaptists, Jan van Leyden and his top lieutenants, were tortured to death right in the marketplace, literally right in front of where the Good Parlor is today.
It was a gruesome public spectacle. And afterwards, their bodies were placed in those 3 iron cages and hauled up the church tower. They were just left there to rot, to be eaten by birds.
A message to the citizens.
Exactly. The message was, this is what happens when you challenge the established order. This is what happens when you rebel.
And to me, the craziest part of this whole story is that the city decided to keep them there.
For nearly 500 years.
They could have taken them down after a few decades once the point was made, but no, they became a permanent part of the skyline. It's such a dark, jarring contrast to the Peace Hall just down the street.
It is the ultimate warning. You have one building that says dialogue and another that screams obey.
Yeah.
But, Munster, even the Dark Tower, has a quirky, lighter tradition attached to it today.
The Turmarin, the Tower Keeper. This is actually one of my favorite details about the city.
It's delightful. Since 1379, and officially in this specific capacity since 1481, there has been a Tower Keeper stationed at the very top of St. Lamberti.
Originally, their job was pretty vital, though, Firewatch. Because in a city of timber-framed houses, fire was the ultimate enemy.